Oh man, guys, this is gonna be quite the video here. I have a stupid amount of stuff to show you, and this is only from like one package I got for my birthday. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. Basically, I was told to go pick out some stuff for my birthday gift because they know my hopeless addiction in my family, and they're like, all right, just go pick out a bunch of stuff and we'll buy it and just wrap it and give it to you. And that's what this is. One package from one seller. It is so large, I took notes. I don't take notes for videos, so I'm gonna cut into this because this is just a lot. We're listening to the third storm of Sithral by Absu. Killer Black Thrash, sorry, that's a hefty glare. Yeah, great record. Some classic Black Thrash. Really good stuff. Sorry about that, man. I hope that plays not a problem this whole time. But yeah, so this is like 50 something CDs. I'll count them after the video. Yeah, so the first one I got here is Slumber of Solemn Eyes by Demigod. You guys have all heard this one, I am sure. It is a classic Finnish death metal record. I've been wanting to get a hold of a copy of this for like ever. This is a 1992 release, so it's a little bit faster than a lot of the Finnish bands usually are. A lot of those Finnish bands usually got like a more doomy element, which this definitely has a little bit of that. But as far as consistently throughout the whole record, like pertinence and stuff, how it's more mid-paced and darker. This is a little bit more aggressive. These guys definitely were chilling in Sweden or something for a little while. Not as punky as the Swedish bands, but yeah, nonetheless, a great record. Classic, you guys have all heard. Next, definitely a Swedish band. This is Desultory with their 94 release, Bitterness. So, Desultory is one of those Swedish death metal classic bands that doesn't get an awful lot of love in comparison to, you know, Grave and all the likes. Metal Blade release. Trying to get that glare going. Yeah, there we go. Came with this little poster thingy, which is extra cool. You know, I didn't even read this, but it looks like, oh, it's a little Desultory biography that came with the CD. But yeah, so this is really early for the melodic style. This is definitely really melodic in comparison to a lot of the Swedish bands. I would probably put this as that early hardcore influenced Swedish style, obviously. So yeah, I'm gonna shut up about this one because I sound like a moron, but that's Desultory. Next is 3 albums by the same band. This is Siroth Ungol. I've been meaning to get a hold of their stuff for a while now. This is Frost and Fire from 1981. I believe it's their first full-length album. It's really good, classic style heavy metal. Weirdish vocals. I always thought Siroth Ungol had some weird vocals, kind of like Manila Road. But nonetheless, it's a really cool album. Yeah, love the album cover. I haven't listened to the whole thing yet. I've only gotten to listen all the way through to a couple of these, so bear with me on that. But yeah, that's Frost and Fire. Next is One Foot in Hell. Is that the same guy from the cover of the last one? I really don't know. I've wondered that for a while now. But again, another one that I haven't spent a lot of time with. I've been wanting to get into these guys. And Paradise Lost. Cool album cover. Siroth Ungol does have some of the greatest album covers in metal history. This one's from 91, the last one was from 86. But yeah, Siroth Ungol. Next, classic one. 1995 release, Norrvinder by Storm. Everybody should know this one already. This is a collaborative effort of Satir from Satyricon, Fenriz, and I believe some woman that I don't know where she's from, but obviously the notable names are more of those two. So this is kind of like definitely early Bathory, or not, like later era Bathory influenced, folky, Viking-y black metal. Really cool Isengard styles all throughout this one. I'm a huge fan of that Hostmark album by Isengard, and this is kind of a style like that, but a little more black metal. So that's really, really cool to have, and I'm glad to own it finally. Next, two CDs by a Swedish death metal band that I've never ever heard somebody mention before. The first one that is from 1996, it's Shadowland by Inverted. Inverted is a very straightforward Swedish style death metal band, not as hardcore influenced as much as they are Morbid Angel influenced, but it's nonetheless very cool. I appreciate a good dragon, of course. Those high vocals in this band are great. But yeah, Shadowland. Haven't listened to this one all the way through yet, but I have listened to this one all the way through. This is There Can Be Only One. This is killer. These boys were definitely listening to Ulcers of Madness while they were writing this one. It's really right in your face. One of my favorite songs on here is The Last Angel Falls. It's such a good album. Nobody talks about this, but if you haven't heard this, definitely go check it out. The last one was from 96, this one's from 97. So that's probably why they were a little bit late to the party, and they were on Shiver Records, which is a Belgium-based record label, and I couldn't name another release that came out on Shiver. So that also might have had something to do with it. Nope, coming back at me. Yeah, Inverted. Next, Swedish band, 1982 release, Death or Glory by Heavy Load. I have the other one, Stronger Than Evil, sitting right over there. This is the other classic album. I know that they have one more before these two, and I've never heard it, but this is definitely an underrated band. I love this album cover. I would love to get a t-shirt of it. I'll have to check around on the webs to see if I can get a hold of one. I feel like Hell's Headbangers would have something like this. If not, whatever, I'll find it one way or another. But yeah, Heavy Load, Death or Glory, classic heavy metal you guys should all be familiar with. Next is 1990 thrash metal release by a band called Defiance from the USA, California, I believe. So this is kind of melodic-ish thrash, definitely influenced by that Bay Area sound. I mean, they kind of were close to there. Oh, yeah, Catatoni, California. Yeah, it's kind of like a cheap Testament, is what it sounds like to me. But that shouldn't take anything away from it, because Testament's such a great band. It's tough to live up to that stylistic choice. And if we're gonna sound this much like them, you know, what do you expect? But yeah, Defiance. Void Terra Firma. Next is going to be a 1993 Swedish death metal release. This is Passage of Life by Excruciate. This is one of the better Swedish death metal albums I got in this lot, and obviously there's gonna be a ton of them. You've already seen multiple. I really like this album a whole lot. It's really brutal in comparison to some of the other Swedish bands. These guys were definitely tinging on some of that more aggressive style really early, and you know, being 1993, there's only a couple of bands out already doing that stuff. So this is a really cool album, ahead of their time, not so punky, which is cool for me because I'm not much of a classic punk guy, or just a punk guy in general. But yeah, Excruciate. Another Swedish band. This is 1992 from Sweden. This is Epitaph, Seeming Salvation. Sorry, my notes are a little messy. I have terrible handwriting, and I was dumb enough to write it in pink. But this is another one of those classic bands. This is super like nasty sounding death metal. It's not like gross in the autopsy sense, as it's just got this nasty feel to it. The production's really trebly, and it's kind of an ear assault type of record, which I'm all about. So yeah, Epitaph. Next, 3 albums by a Swedish kind of progressive-y power metal band. This is 1993, The Secret Doctrine. It's pretty proggy, really mid-paced, kind of sabotage-y, which is, I think, their most akin band on the Metal Archives out on Black Mark. It's a great record if you're into that kind of Edge of Thorns style sabotage or gutter ballad sabotage. Next is Sanctified, 95 release. Also pretty proggy, but a little bit more straight up than the one before, which is odd because usually bands get a little more proggy as time goes by. This is definitely something I'd rather recommend than the first one, or that first one I showed to you. Not much I could say beyond that. And Maleficium by Morgana Le Fay, 1996 record. I haven't listened to this one yet. I haven't had time. It's a lot of stuff to take care of, but there's a tune called Dragon's Lair, and that's a good start for me. Next, a Finnish folk metal band from 2001, Insufferum, self-titled. Great album. This has got Yari from Winter Sun doing the vocals and playing guitar, if I remember right. It's got really heavy melodic tendencies like most folk metal seems to, but it's definitely got some power metal qualities to it. It's a great album cover. Insufferum always has great covers. It's one of the things that really attracted me to them early on. But yeah, you guys have all heard that. What more can a guy say here? So next is 2 CDs by a German death metal band. Also some old school stuff. It's a band called Incubator. This is, how do I say this? Symphonies of Spiritual Cannibalism from 1991. Nasty old school death metal. Not super fast, but pretty old school, straight up old school death metal. It's not super weird quite yet, because this band does get pretty weird later in their catalog, but it's nonetheless a really good listen, something you should definitely look into getting. I've never heard anybody mention Incubator before. The stuff is not widely available, but look it up, you'll probably dig it. Next is their weird album, McGilroy, The Housefly by Incubator. This is some of the weirdest death metal I've ever heard. Like, if these guys were on a bill with like Cynic and Gorguts in the 90s, that would have been something crazy. And this is 1993. It's just got all kinds of goofy stuff all over it. Weird kind of song structures that don't make any sense. The vocals get goofy. It's way ahead of their time, and definitely the reason they're not as big as they could have been. It's definitely a niche style. Next, Omen with The Curse and Nightmares. This is The Curse is 1986 full length, and Nightmares is the 87 EP. One of the worst album covers in classic metal, which is saying something because classic metal has awful album covers a lot of the time, but awesome old school looking Metal Blade disc, cool band photos. The Starway has seen some action, it looks like. Nightmares cover for the disc tray, not very eventful. This is like definitely early US classic power metal stylings, a little more heavy metal than some of the other bands in that style, but nonetheless a great record. Battle Cry is something I gotta track down as well. Next, two CDs by the same band. Razor, 1990 Shotgun Justice. Classic thrash metal record. Super speedy, super fast, lots of fun, great record. The opening track on here, Miami, super catchy record. The only reason I showed you the booklet is because it fell out, but yeah, it's classic thrash, Canadian thrash, lots of fun. You guys have heard it. Their next record, Open Hostility, from 1991. I only listened to a track or two off this one, but it's more of the same thing. Some people try to classify this band as speed metal. I don't hear that whatsoever. People are trying to say that this sounds like the early Blind Guardian stuff. That doesn't make any sense at all. This has a whole lot more in common with the more angry thrash, like Morbid Saint. Like, I think this has more in common with Absu than it does with, I don't know, like Enforcer or something like that. Is dumb. Definitely not speed metal. But yeah. So this is a 1993 U.S. death metal band. This album is called Iniquitous by Rotivore, California band. I'm surprised this isn't a bigger album than it is. It's definitely not been well pressed, which I believe is the problem. But seriously, man, you guys should definitely go check this one out on Drowned Productions, Madrid, Spain. It's super brutal for the old school 93 style. It's definitely influenced by Carcass and the likes. It's got that really nasty vocal approach like that early Carcass, like Symphonies and Reek have on there. But nonetheless, man, great record. The Swedish style riffing, not the tone or anything. Maybe a little bit. I actually thought this band was Swedish for a while there. But yeah, Rotivore. Super brutal vocals. Next, a death metal band from Belgium. Their genre tag on the Metal Archives is epic death metal, which is just a weird thing to me because death metal usually isn't very epic. But this is Whirler of Fate by Caustic. Nasty. Not nasty, sorry. Wrong word. Great, kind of slower, mid-paced death metal. Kind of melodic, weird time signatures on a lot of the riffs I noticed. I can't really read the back cover all that well. The track listings are kind of difficult to tell. But it's a great record. A little proggy. Definitely got some cool tinges to it, but nonetheless, go check this one out. Epic or not, it's good stuff. Something that's pretty obvious that you gotta have, 1986, Orgasmatron by Motorhead. You guys have all heard this. Sepultura did a cover of the title track. Yeah, Motorhead. Next, a new Wobbler band, Loose and Lethal by Savage. This is I didn't even write the year. I believe it's 83. It doesn't say on the back. It says 2008. It's definitely not from then. This is speedy stuff. Really good. Early kind of proto speed metal styled stuff. Definitely not super in line with like Blitzkrieg and stuff like that, but the vocals are pretty mid in their timbre. They're not super high. He's not wailing. It's just good and catchy stuff with a great album cover. Definitely check this out if you haven't. What do I got here? 3 CDs by the same band. You guys have all heard of this album. It's pretty infamous, being the first thing out on Death Like Silence. This is The Awakening by Merciless. Swedish, kind of death thrash classic. It's really primitive. It's really angry. It's definitely influenced by Creator. For sure. Oop, disc falling out. Yeah, I've been needing to get a hold of this one. I know a lot of people have already seen this, heard it. Great record. Oop. Next, this is The Treasures Within by Merciless. It's basically the same style as that, but with a little bit better production. Like this, The Awakening has a pretty raw sound to it. This one definitely has modernized the production And how many years is there between the two? There's only 2 years in between the two. But yeah, it's that similar riffing style and idea, just with better production. Great record. And the last Merciless one is Unbound. I believe I have all of their full lengths. Huge fan of this album cover. Looks very cool. Great disc. I only skimmed through this a little bit on my YouTube link. I haven't even played the disc yet. But yeah, House of Kicks records. It's just, you know, I'm assuming it's going to be more Awesome Merciless, even though I heard a little bit, not a ton. Next, 2 CDs by the same band. The Misfits. Walk Among Us. I just been meaning to get a hold of some Misfits stuff, and I just haven't done it. You guys have heard every last bit of this one, I am sure. It's got tons of classics like Mommy Can I Go Out and Kill Tonight, Violent World. The whole thing is basically a sing-along. And the next one, Legacy of Brutality. Another great one. A little bit more raw. I know that this one is from 85. I always thought this one was earlier than Walk Among Us. It's kind of a bunch of different recordings. I know it was recorded in like the late 70s a little bit, and then a little bit in like 82, and then I think they finished it off in 85 and then put it out. So that explains a lot as to why it's so different. But nonetheless, man, you guys have heard it. Next one. Fatherland by Ancient Rites. This is a Belgium black metal band. I checked it out, saw the album cover, thought it was really cool. Had to grab it. It's really melodic, really good use of keys. The vocals are a little weird. They're not necessarily always this wretch. They always have this kind of almost thrash quality to them, where it's more of a yell a lot of the time rather than it's screaming and wretched, I should say. It's a great record. I think this is from 1998. And yeah, man, you guys should definitely check this out if you like stuff like Windear. Another band nobody ever talks about for whatever reason that would be. Next one. This is the band Delirium with the album I have absolutely no clue. It is ZZOOOUHH. So however you pronounce that. But this is a black metal. This is a death metal band from the Netherlands. 1990 release. It's really doomy, and it's got some pretty weird production. It's really, really airy. It doesn't have a lot of beef to it, which is not a good thing for a doomy death metal album. But it's got a stupid album cover. But it's a pretty good album. I would definitely check this out if you like that early kind of doom, death, winter kind of autopsy sound. The vocals are an acquired taste. I feel like they're not the greatest thing I've ever heard, but you know, it sounds like I don't like it, but I do like this album. So yeah, Delirium. Next, something I just needed to have. I haven't bought any Death CDs, so this is Individual Thought Patterns from 1993. Come on. How do you not have Death in your collection, like myself? I believe this is the album with, what's his name, from King Diamond playing on it a little bit. It's got Gene Hogland and I think the bass player from Sadis. I don't remember entirely, but you know, this is Trapped in a Corner's on here, Inhuman Form, Out of Touch, The Philosopher, Nothing is Everywhere, Overactive Imagination. It's a classic death metal album. Some people really hate it. Again, I don't get it. What's the hate? 2 albums by the same band. Some early US power metal as well. This is Running Wild. Definitely where Ailstorm got their ideas from. Under Jolly Roger. Early power metal, pirate themed. Beyond catchy. Some of the greatest metal to come out of the United States. Gotta listen to some more of it for sure. And Port Royale. That one's from 87. This one's from 88. I only skimmed through Port Royale. I haven't, or Port Royal, sorry, is how they actually say it. It just sounds cooler when you say Royale. But nonetheless, man, you guys definitely need to check this one out as well, even though I haven't listened to it as much as I'd like to have. Yeah, 88. Next one is going to be Ulver's Natten's Madrigal from 1997. Classic Norwegian black metal album. I have the LP, so I've been kind of putting off getting the CD. I need to get the self-titled, and then I have all the Ulver worth owning. Even though I have one of the later albums, and I don't think I've ever put it on a player. But yeah, classic album cover, early atmospheric black metal, legendary stuff. Next, some early Swedish death metal, back to where we started, 1991. This is Blood Chilling Tales. When I was in high school, the girl I went to prom with printed a bootleg of this for me. So it's nice to have a real copy of this, because I don't even want that thing on my CD shelf, because it's very poorly made. So yeah, Blood Chilling Tale, classic Swedish death metal album. Great one. Next, Stillborn by Malevolent Creation, 1993. I believe this is their first album that wasn't recorded or mixed and mastered at Moorsound. So it's a little beefier production. It doesn't sound so samey as a lot of the other Floridian bands, so that's cool. But Malevolent's really stylistically pretty samey to those bands, which isn't saying something, or isn't saying anything bad, because it's a great sound to have, especially being this early. Yeah, I hope you guys have all heard that Malevolent Creation disc. Next one, some symphonic power metal, which is a great thing in my book. This is 2009 record with Dawn of the Dragon Star by Twilight Force. I have one of their other albums on LP. First CD I got of theirs. This is yeah, made in the EU. But it's a great record. It's got some orchestral versions of the tunes on the back and some demo stuff. It's, you know, it's basically more of what Rhapsody started. Great Swedish band. 2 albums by the same band here. One of my favorite black metal bands, with their second full-length, 1994's Frost by Enslaved. Great album. Definitely more straightforward. Top shelf band photos. They're absolute dorks. Also, big fan of this inside cover here. It says Viking Metal, out on Osmos. Great release. I kind of like that they didn't put any logo or anything on the front, even though I do adore the Enslaved logo. Really straightforward, definitely not as progressive as they are now, but great record nonetheless. Next is 98. So Frost, then this one, which is Bloodhem. You're starting to see a little bit of the progginess coming in. Little bits of clean vocals, but man, this is like hyperspeed for Enslaved. It's a great record. Next, Devastation from Texas with the album Idolatry. This is 1991. It's super riffy, really groovy, thrashy. I would say it's the other way around. It's a little bit death metal tinged thrash metal. Definitely an aggressive album. Lots of fun. Fits in that mood for like Morbid Saint and the likes. It's got that Moorsound sound. It has the, you know, that early death metal production to it with a thrash metal style, which is definitely a really cool sound to have. Classic. Next is Wombat with Internal Caustic Torments, 1993. This is pretty textbook Swedish death metal, but it's got some hints of brutality to it too. Really cool album cover. Big fan of that. Yeah, I mean, if you guys have heard some Swedish death metal, you've heard a lot of Swedish death metal. This has the Brutal Mites demo on there, and then a couple tracks from different. Oh, it's also got the Several Shapes 7-inch EP, and then I don't know what this last track is. Silence Unveiled. Unfamiliar, but nonetheless, man, Wombat, great stuff. Next, a classic record, kind of speed metal, kind of thrash. This is Doomsday for the Deceiver, by Flotsam and Jetsam. I believe this is the full-length Flotsam, or first full-length Flotsam and Jetsam put out in 1986, featuring Jason Newsted from Metallica, right there. I guess he was from Flotsam Jetsam, then Metallica. Really fun, definitely in line with like Overkill and Metal Church and the likes. Nothing I need to spend a lot of time on. This one deserves a little bit more love. This is 1990. This is Fear of Reality by Burning Vision. It's from Austria. Kind of a heavy metal band, little tinges of speed. Cool album cover. Big fan of that. A little different than usual. Pretty bare bones on the inside here. Stupid hats being worn by bands. It's basically the same as the outside cover on the back. It's really good, kind of heavy metal, a little speedy, a little more aggressive than most. It is already 1990, so it's kind of an obsolete style as far as trends go at that time. So it's cool, but it's also got this kind of weird vocal layering during the chorus. It's I don't want to call it robot voice, kind of like, because that makes me think of like Focus by Cynic, but it's definitely got this goofy layering. Definitely go listen to the title track, Fear of Reality. That's the one that I'm kind of thinking of in mind. Next, 1990 release, UK death metal band, thrashy elements to the gory end by Cancer. Classic death metal. Really good vocals. I love the snarl in the vocals. It's really aggressive. Catchy riffs all around. Next, a Swedish death metal band that people don't really ever talk about. I've never heard anybody talk about it. This is Sentinex, Subconscious Lobotomy. Nasty album cover, but nonetheless very cool. Very sadistic, kind of cheesy 80s death metal, or 90s death metal, because this is 1992. It's really raw. It's got some weird synthy elements to it in a couple of the tunes, but it's definitely a cool listen. Definitely go check this out if you haven't heard it. The Absu album finished. So I got a couple more here and we're going to be done. You're going to be listening to silence in the background. This is 1988 from the Netherlands, Mandator. Speedy, super aggressive, kind of speed metal, thrash metal in between there. Great band, man. Really cool album cover. I really liked the kind of, I don't know what you'd call this guy. He doesn't look like a samurai. I don't know, something spooky, something cool. But yeah, great, awesome riffs. Really cool drumming. Great record. Next, Seance with For Never Laid to Rest, 1992. This is a little bit more Swedish death metal, pretty textbook, but it does have some really American tinges to it. Out on Black Mark. Again, nothing you guys haven't heard of with this one. Luck of the Corpse by Deceased, 1990. This is probably the most straight up Deceased record. Straight up old school death metal. Oh, this is 91, sorry. It's got some thrashy-ish tinges, but honestly, they got thrashier as time went along, not early like you would usually expect. I love just the big, bold-looking side spine. It's great. King Folly in the back there. I don't know any of these other dudes. Yeah, Les Snyder, Mike Smith, Mark Adams, whatever. I don't know. From Virginia. Classic record. Good one. Next. If you're following me on Instagram, my collecting page, I'll drop it in the link in the description. I posted this a couple days ago. This is Vomitorition with Head Tails. This is a 1993 EP from this Finnish band. While a lot of the bands are pretty, kind of doomy, again, this one doesn't have a lot of that, like a lot of the other Finnish bands do, like I mentioned with Demigod earlier. But this is like two members of Rotten Sound and the drummer of Winter Sun. Before they started doing any of that, this is a lot more of an old school release. A lot more straightforward. not grindy, which is cool for me because that is not my thing. 3 more. Wow, this is going to be the longest video I've ever made. Ambulance, Feel the Pain, 1989. They're from Aurora, Illinois, which is a little over an hour or so from where I live. Out on New Renaissance Records. Really like that logo for the record label. This is some of that early power metal, American power metal styling, put into some really cool packaging. Lots of werewolves on the album covers, and you guys already know I'm all about some of that. Great stuff. This is a Belgium death metal band from 1994. This is an Anesthesia with Exaltations of the Eclipse. It's pretty mid-paced. Got a couple of weird parts here and there, but for the most part, it's pretty straight up. Lots of terrible mustaches in this band. Not sure what the deal is with that, but you know, I'm kind of into it. So yeah, we need to bring back the bad mustaches. I know Chase from Gate Creeper has them, but he has a good mustache. We need the bad ones again. Bring it back to 94. And the last one, a Mexican death metal band from 1992. This is Cenotaph, The Gloomy Reflections of Our Hidden Sorrows. Being what, you know, having that kind of a name and having this kind of imagery on the cover, I thought it was going to be doomy and depressive. It is not. It is pretty straight up death metal with some brutal tinges. In 92, that's again early for that brutal style. What's sick, guys, got a Dark Throne t-shirt on the back, so that's a real good start. Incantation shirt, yeah, that's a pretty accurate depiction. Yeah, Mexican band, great stuff. That's it for this one, guys. I'm gonna call it a night on that. I gotta put all this crap in my CD shelves sometime in the next day or two. I got another collection update worth of stuff over there that'll be probably next week, depending on when a couple things that I have getting shipped in arrive. We'll see. So if you lasted nearly 40 minutes, thank you very much, and keep it greasy.